And then Dylan, was I covering lipstick?
No, I'll take care of that. Don't worry.
You go to lipstick?
Yeah.
Great. And I will stop share and you will share.
All right. You can see that?
Control?
Can you see it, Tim?
I see it, but I don't know if it's your screen or mine.
I think
when you
we
turn
got
the page,
a
we'll
few
know.
questions.
Okay, it's you.
One of the questions a few people asked, what data is this about? Where is it about? And for this report, we focused on the US, but it's important to emphasize our software is a global software. But this data is from the US specifically. Another thing that's really important to emphasize, these are about next year's trends. And so a lot of the data might be, I think it's supposed to be very insightful, very interesting, because it's contrasting what do we see this year from next year. And so we might see these big trends going on right now. And the value of our data is telling you, is that a long-term trend? Or are you going to start to see declines next year? And in that case, should you start to shift your strategy? Or is the decline only going to be modest and the short-term growth is going to be so substantial that you're okay with that decline? It's really to contextualize new product innovation rather than, to adjust what you're doing yesterday or, last year's plans. So with that said, what we'll go into here is the lipstick category. And here we analyzed almost 300,000 data points about lipstick, and we saw growth. Going into next year, there will be growth, although it is 11% growth compared to this year. And so the biggest opportunity we found, and when we say opportunity, we mean in terms of potential demand relative to competition. And so it's lip stains. We found this really interesting because it's one of those up and coming categories. And we found that next year it's predicted to grow so substantially. It's one of the big benefits of it is people have less time to spend at home. They have, as they're returning to work, as they're returning to the office and so on, our lives are going to become busier. And convenience becomes a really big factor, and lip stains access that convenience need because it allows consumers to apply the product once per day and not have to reapply, not have to carry lipstick around with them throughout the day. In terms of sensory attributes, we analyzed 51 different sensory attributes, and we found that these were the 5 highest winners. Now, there's other winners, there's other losers, but here we're talking about the top opportunities. We saw glitter and buildability were some of the highest risers, which was pretty fascinating. But on the losing side, smooth and sort of, gentle benefits and so on, these sensory attributes, they're really popular right now. And our models are predicting that next year, they will still be popular, but they will be much less trendy, 30% less trendy, 45% less trendy than they are right now. In terms of need states, we looked at 107 different need states, and the top 6 that we found were they were about moisture, repairment, and so on. And this was an interesting one. Lipstick, we see daily use, and if you remember back in the overview, we found that in general, consumers are looking less for daily routine, these kind of products, but that's much more focused in the skincare area. And in makeup, daily use is going to increase a lot next year, especially because people are returning to this open society as vaccines become more common, as COVID starts to decline next year. People will be reapplying makeup. They'll be using it daily. In terms of the losers, we see one of the interesting losers here was sun protection. Another one that was interesting is youthful appearance and anti-aging. Those go with a lot of those macro trends we saw when we were going through category level trends, and we saw anti-aging is overall declining, although in foundation it is growth. For sensory attributes, we looked at 51 different ones. I think I just did that, but colors is always interesting in lipstick. 2021 has been, about bright colors, about, it's been sort of coming back in terms of wearing not maybe less nude shades than last year. And next year we see that, red will continue to grow, but there's going to be a lot more diversity in colors. And that's a really interesting thing, whether it's, coral, for example, but the shine was interesting that that's growing, as well as nude is continuing to grow next year, despite, the really rapid growth in the past year. In terms of losers, it's, as Tim mentioned in the overview section, the sort of really vibrant, less traditional colors are going to start to decline as people re-enter society. They're going to go with more conservative looks.